Good morning. We continue with the Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habis. It's a Mizmor of the Alter Rebbe, Mizmor that is associated with 3 weeks. And we ended off in the previous chapter that we spoke about what is Chanukas Mishkan, what does it mean, the inauguration of the Mishkan, which was a special drawdown in order for the initiation, for the start of the resting of the Shekhinah, like introducing a new thing that did not happen before. And now Hashem's, the divine presence, will be resting in a physical dwelling. So the Chanukas Mishkan was, in a way, a stimulant. It was a stimulant to make that happen, encouragement to make that happen. Being Parshas Anisim, Mefurash Batera. Korban shel kol nosi v'nosi comes to the portion of the leaders. It's described in the Torah in Parshas Nosi, I believe chapter 17. Each leader, each prince, his offerings. Zeh korban nachshon. This is a korban of nachshon. Zeh korban isanel. With all of them, it's written what was the korbanos. Ma hoyu korbanos. Even though all the leaders, they brought the same type of a korban, same combinations of animals, oil, libations, everything was the same. Should have said, instead of saying each leader with the content of his korbanos, his offerings, he could have said, this was the korban for Nachshon ben Aminadab or Nesanel ben Tzur, the representative of the tribe of Yehuda, and similarly Shlumiel and all the other names of the Nesim, they brought also the same korban. I had to say exactly what they brought, even though I had to mention what they brought, even though it was exactly the same as all the other ones. We know there's nothing extra in the Torah, added. It has to be precise. Every word is precise in the Torah. So why did it mention 12 times the korbanos? This is recorded for generations. It was revealed obviously to Hashem. The base of Mikdash would be destroyed. And the Shama points for saying, as it says in the prophet Yeshua, Hosea chapter 14, that we would need to compensate for sacrificial offerings with our lips. It's written in the Gemara in Menachos 110 that if you are involved with the learning of korban oila, learn about the details and specification of a burnt offering, it's as if you bought a korban oila. So what is the reason why the leaders were written in the Torah? Even though it was something that is just for them. It wasn't a korban that they bought. Like you can say, I need to know what korbanos I need to bring, but you don't bring it. The Chanukas Mishkan, Chanukas Mizbech is a one-time thing. You're walking into a new house, you're buying a new house, you're making one party, Chanukas Habis, and that's it. You're not going to do it again. So why do I need to know what they bought? And even if I do need to know what they bought, why are you repeating it 12 times? It says, because it was known to Hashem that Beis HaMikdash would be destroyed, and the Shekhinah will be removed from the Mishkan and the Mikdash, from the sanctuary, and from the Beis HaMikdash. And now, in order for the Shekhinah, for the divine presence, to rest, to continue to exist even after the destruction. The parshas, the portions in the Torah, there's portions in Torah that are associated with it. And that makes it nitzchi, that makes it eternal. Torah is eternal, the words of God are eternal. We say Dvor Chaim v'Kayomim, His words are everlasting. And therefore, when we read it in the Torah, Bayom Arishoy Nosi Livnei Yehuda, and so on, and his korban that he brought, we are continuing, we are drawing down this Dvar Havai, the utterance of God that spoke to Moshe on that day to bring that korban. And as if it's considered, since we are dealing with the korban, it's as if we have brought the korban. We read in the Torah Parshas Eilo, since the Torah is nitzchit, the Torah is eternal, whatever we read, that's exactly what happened. So it's as if we brought korban oil. Read in Chanukah the korbanos of the Nesim. Chanukah also Gamkin Chanukas Hamizbeach. Chanukah, they also had the inauguration of the Mizbeach. What happened then? They made, the Gemara in Midas tells us, Mishnah Midas, that they made, the enemy made 13 breaches. And when the Hashmonaim were able to overcome them, they were victorious over the Romans, the Greeks, they needed inauguration to bring the sanctity back to its place. Because at the time of that the idolaters made the breaches, the Shekhinah departed. By reading the Torah portions of the Nesim, we're drawing down to bring about the resting of the Shekhinah again. That the Shekhinah should rest upon us. That's why learning of Torah is also called Kriya. You're reading Torah. What does that mean, Kriya? Kriya is calling somebody. You can say Kriya like reading, and Kriya also to call. In Hebrew, if I want to call you, I want to describe what I do when I call you, I say, I kore lecha, I call you, right? So call you is not just getting your attention. It's maybe telling you to come, right? You're calling somebody, telling him to come. So we're reading the Torah, we're calling it to come down, we're drawing it down. That's the Chidush and Chassidus tells what Kriya means. Kriya is not just I'm reading Torah. I'm creating what the Torah is telling me. It's being created. You're reading about the korbanos, it's like it's being given. The korbanos are being done. So through reading the Torah, we draw down and we reveal what was concealed, the concept that we read about. Now the question remains, we understand why it's written, even though it was a one-time thing. The question remains, why 12 times? Why do you read it 12 times for each Nosi? It was redundant 12 times for all the 12 tribes. To draw down the nullification like a candle in front of the big flame. There are 12 flames corresponding to 12 tribes. Each tribe has its own flame. 12 flames. Like branches that are coming out of a tree. Although they are all coming out from the same tree, but nevertheless, each branch has its own character. it's a separate flow. So similarly with the tribes of Israel, each one has its own branch. So what is the purpose of bringing the Shekhinah to rest in the Mikdash? Through that, the Neshamis Yisrael will that the Neshamis Yisrael will be drawn down to their source, or drawn up, like a candle that is drawn to the big flame, want to be part of the big flame. And this is the reason why the Parsha of Korbanos Hanasim, written in the Torah, so through it, Yuchlu Yisrael, the Jewish people, will be able to draw down this Hamshacha, even when the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, even at the time that the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. Why? Because each tribe they are divided in the source where they pull from, 12 different flames, as I mentioned before. And that's why it's written in the Torah, korban for each nasi, because it's a different Hamshacha. Although the content of the korban was the same, but the Hamshacha was different. The drawdown was different. That's why it's also written, being read in Chanukah. So when the flame is illuminated, when the flame shines and radiates, all the neshamas of that tribe are being pulled to it. Ve'ine pirush Mizmor Shir du kefir losh. Mizmor Shir is also redundant. Mizmor means a song, and Shir means a song. Why is it Mizmor Shir? And many times in Tehillim it says Shir HaMailos. You don't say Mizmor Shir. Some places it says Mizmor Shir, redundant. Some places it says just Shir. Shir HaMailos LeDavid, for example. Or Mizmor LeDavid, but not Mizmor Shir. So in places where it does mention Mizmor Shir, it comes to teach us something special, something unique. Mizmor LeShir. The Rebbe tells us you should know there is a difference between Mizmor and between and Shir. The melodies that you play with instruments, that melodies are called voice of zemer, of singing. Because it comes out from the instrument. So from here we see that Mizmor is going to be all the melodies, music that comes out of instrument, and Shir, it's melody that come out from your mouth. So Mizmor is instrument, and Shir is mouth, is singing. A cappella, right? A cappella is no instruments.
No accompaniment.
No what?
Accompaniment.
No accompaniment. Okay. So he's going to say now the Mizmor is the singing of the angels, and Shir is the singing of the souls. Okay, each one sings. They're both singing. So why in regard to Chanukas HaMizbeach it says Mizmor Shir Chanukas HaMizbeach? Why in regard to Chanukas HaMizbeach it says double? Mizmor Shir Pirush Mizmor Shir HaSamalachim Amdu Mushalel. Mizmor is the singing of the angels that are standing on top of the world. They are from the external aspects of the world. They have chaymer, they have the material, they have the shape, like we said, oil, kli, light, and vessel. Previously we learned that the malachim are comprised of fire and air. Their song, their praises, Mufarim Meshagum Nachuzes Borech Beseido V'Kol Zimro Nikra B'Chilas Mizmor. Their singing is called Mizmor. Mitzad Shu HaZemer HaMelubash B'Kli, because it's enclosed in a vessel. Shem B'Chinas Chaymer V'Tzura. So their singing is enclosed in a vessel because they are light and a vessel. They are Chaymer and Tzura, substance and shape. It says that their nefesh, the nefesh of the angel, is enclosed in a vessel. It's considered chaymer material in comparison to their spiritual image, their spiritual shape. That's why their singing is also enclosed, that can be heard in the ears of the prophet. So the singing of the angels is called Mizmor. Obviously, it's louder than the mouth. It's much stronger. You have drums, you can make the whole neighborhood hears you, right? But the singing of the angels is heard, at least to the prophet, because it's enclosed in their bodies. It's substance in comparison to the spiritual image. It says that the vessels of the angels is somewhat stopping the ultimate bittul. They have bittul tashem, but the ultimate bittels they don't have. Why? Because the akli shel ha'makev, the vessel, is limiting. Their vessel is limiting this type of bittul, inner level of bittul. The reason why the bittul is noticeable, something that you can feel, with rash godel, with great noise, with great tumult. All of it is because of the kli itself. So since the singing of the angels is enclosed in a vessel, the nullification to godliness is on the lowest level. Comes to song. That's the neshama singing. That cannot be heard. That we mentioned the Gemara about the animals that go out with a certain color. It's called Yotzim B'Shir and Chnosim B'Shir. But it also means that you go out with a song and enter with a song. Bitul Amitik, Bitul Aneir, that we spoke about the Levim, that all the Korbanos had to be done together with the Levim, meaning they would sing, and that's how it would be, the Korban would be elevated with their singing. So we see that the elevation is associated with singing. The neshamas in Gan Eden are going out with a song, and are drawn down through a song, with the ultimate bittul, like the nullification of the candle in front of the big flame. And the reason why, because the neshama is the reason why what? The reason why they have bitul amiti is because they're not enclosed in chaymer and kli, not enclosed in substance, light and vessel. The shir is called the shir because it's not enclosed in a vessel. Their singing is called shir because it's not enclosed in a vessel. If it was enclosed in a vessel, if there's an instrument involved, it would be called mizmor. It's zemer already. But obviously, higher than that, it says the neshamas don't have chomer, don't have kli. It's not oir and vessel. It's just one with Hashem. Ner b'fnei avuk. Like a candle that becomes one with the big flame. So what happens through this song of the neshamis? Uveshira zu haneshamis yitzu ma'usu batl lichos mizachal b'tzizboach ner anicha u'misachal avukot. Through this song, the neshamis are leaving, exiting their essence and become one and unified with Hashem, like a candle that is unified with a big flame. What happened in Mikdash? It's revelation of the Shekhinah, revelation of the divine presence, the source of neshamis, mekoira neshamis v'amalochim. It's written in Tilim 145. Malchuscho malchus koilomim. Your sovereignty is the sovereignty of all worlds. And why does it say about the inauguration of the Bais, of the Beis HaMikdash? Mizmor Shir Chanukas. Two things were being revealed. The song of the angels, and the song of the neshamas were both revealed in Beis HaMikdash. That's why we say Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habis. That's why you have the double expression of the instrument, which is represented by the song of the angels, and the song of the neshamas. They were both revealed in Beis HaMikdash. The source of all of them is revelation of the divine presence, that was revealed in Beis HaMikdash. From Leifuch, Shir Mizmor, sometimes it's written the opposite. Shir Mizmor, not Mizmor Shir. Shir Mizmor Nekir Achulu, which is Tehillim Mem Ches 48. Mizmor is, since the Mizmor is external, isn't because it's enclosed in an instrument. Vashir b'pnimis biltikli. Shir is pnimi, song is inner because it's not enclosed in a vessel. When you have to put them together, it's two facets. That the upper one descending down, or the lower one is ascending on high. When it says Mizmor Shir, it's elevation. It says Mizmor Shir, it's elevation of the Mizmor, elevation of the melody to be one with the song. So it's either the neshama comes down to connect with the lower level, or the lower level is ascending to the neshama. Mizmor Shir is the lower one is ascending to the higher one. Shir Mizmor is the upper one is coming down. Shir is always higher. Shir is the song without the instruments, is the song of the souls. Mizmor is the melodies that are coming out from instruments. That's the song of the angels that is being heard because it's enclosed in oir and kli, has a chomer and tzur, has a shape and substance. So now we saw why sometimes, first of all, why does the double expression in regard to Chanukas Habis, to the inauguration of the Beis HaMikdash, why does it say double expression Mizmor Shir? And the answer is because you had both revelations. You had the singing of the angels being heard in the Mishkan and the singing of the Neshamis, which is not the usual occurrence, but in Beis HaMikdash it took place. And that's why it was said Mizmor Shir. Then he asked another question, why do you say Shir Mizmor sometimes? It says the opposite, the reverse order. So he tells it depends which one is initiating. If the upper one is coming down, it's going to say Mizmor, meaning the first Shir and then Mizmor. But if the lower one is going up, then it's going to say Mizmor Shir. Another interpretation, Alter Rebbe says, Gam Mizmor hu loshen zemer v'yischalkus. Zemer is to prune in Hebrew. What are you doing in pruning? You're cutting things. Zimmer Aritzim is a song about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Zimmer Aritzim, he cut off the evildoers. So it says, Gam Mizmor hu loshen zemer v'yischalkus. Creating divisions. It's written, Parsh Behar, your vineyard you should not cut. You should not prune. Because it's an expression of separation. If you look at the, I guess, musical notes, you'll see that each note has its own, they're separated.
Right.
So he says the same thing over here. When it comes to Mizmor, it's divided into small parts that are coming together. Masha'inkin Ashir, on the other hand, the Shir is continuous. It's one. Even though you go up, down, but it's one part. And similarly, this is happening above. So, Mizmor represents enclosement, light in a vessel, the song of angels, not souls. And it's hinted in the word Mizmor because Mizmor also means separation and divisions. This is probably referring to the time of the sabbatical year. We're not. It says Karma Cholei Tizmer. They're not allowed to prune your branches, the branches on the Shemitah year. So we see the word Mizmor could be also Tizmer, which means to cut. So when light is enclosed in a vessel, godly light is contained in a vessel, somewhat invested in something. So the vessel takes it according to his capability, divided and shapes it different ways, according to the shape of the vessel, according to the mold. When it comes to oil pashut, before its enclosement in a vessel, does not have any change. So meaning the light itself, before it was invested in the mold, before it was placed in the mold, it didn't have a shape. It's like melted gold or silver. It's liquid. You keep it hot, it's still liquid. When you put it into a mold, it now has a shape. It can turn into a shape of a ring, a shape of a block, a shape of a pendant, right. Whatever mold you put it in, so it turns to. So that's the kli, because the mold was a specific way, and that's why the outcome is very specific. Right. But before, when it was melted, it's like endless possibilities. Right. So that's before it was placed in the mold. It's the oil. Once it was placed in the kli, that's it. It's already, now it's tzura. It has a shape. So that's a chomer and tzura. Why is he telling it to us? It comes to tell us that when it comes to oil pashut, when it comes to simple light, before it was enclosed in a vessel, doesn't have any divisions, any change. The ischalkus can only happen through a kli. Divisions are happening through the vessel itself. Remember, in the beginning of this Maimer, we read the pasuk, Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habis, and if you read the whole pasuk, it says, "V'lo simach toiva li." Right? Tehillim chapter 30, verse 1, 2, and 3. So it says, "V'lo simachto oivai." What does that mean? You didn't make my enemies happy. So we spoke about the angels that told Hashem, "Ma enosh kisiskereno." Why would you remember human being to give them the Torah? Keep it here. No hoitchal hashamayim, leave it here. And since then, there is this "I told you" kind of thing situation that golden calf. The sin of the golden calf, the angel said to God, "You see, we told you." Then comes Naisa V'Nishma, Kabbalah Satera, accepting the Torah, and so on. Then they're not happy because their argument, their claim, it has no grounds anymore. Look, the Jewish people are doing what they're supposed to do. So we understand that Lo simachto oivai li, you didn't make my enemies joyful. It's referring to the angels. Now, when the Beis Hamikdash was built, the simcha also ceased. Their joy also stopped, because up till now they were tell Hashem, "We are the one." They're sinning. They're not following your ways. You wasted your Torah on them. Keep it here. Obviously, we learned that they wanted the spiritual aspect of Torah, because the Torah, the way it was enclosed in the world, is not relevant to them.
Right.
Because they didn't go to all the claims that Moshe Rabbeinu made. It didn't go to Mitzrayim. They don't have evil inclination. They don't have jealousy in them. They don't have all the things that human beings have. Bottom line is, the simcha did not, the joy stopped. It was called a party pooper.
Right.
Beis Hamikdash for them was a party pooper, for the angels.
So they must have been happy with the Churban.
And that's why it says, "V'lo simachto oivai li." He didn't make my. David HaMelech says, when Chanukas Habis takes place, the simcha is out of the wind, is out of the window. Firush Kidi Lisoni. What does it mean, Kidi Lisoni? Pasuk says Kidi Lisoni. What does it mean? Sha'atam l'chol zeh u'itoron u'ma'asan shomas al mochim v'itoron zu niruz milo di Lisoni. David HaMelech says, "Aoimucha Hashem, I will praise you, Hashem." Says, who is praising Hashem for the building of the Beis Hamikdash? The angels are not praising Hashem for building the Beis Hamikdash, because that is counterproductive for them, right? It doesn't fit the narrative. What was their narrative? They said, "Let's keep it there. Right. Don't give it to them." So, building of the Beis Hamikdash was not for them. So who is praising Hashem for building Beis Hamikdash? Neshamas Yisrael, the Jewish souls are praising Hashem for building Beis Hamikdash. And the Shekhinah is resting in them, not in the Neshamas Yisrael, not in the angels. And what does Kidi Lisonim has to do with this? It says Kidi Lisoni. Within the word Kidi Lisoni hinted the greatness of souls over angels. Soon see why. Sheyesh Bogim al Perushim. The Dilisoni has 3 interpretations. And they might be even opposite of one another. Ayecho, the first interpretation, elevation, exultance. That's one Dilisoni. You elevated me, you uplifted me. The second one means dal. Dal is impoverished, poor. And the third one is, I can read in Parsha Shmois, doloi dolo. It means pumping, getting water from the ground. And all the three Pirushim are emes, are truth. V'chol hagim Pirushim emes. B'megimel mailas shesh l'neshama al-malachim. Alter Rebbe tells us there are three superiorities, advantages that we have over the angels. Souls over angels, three advantages. One is elevation. The first interpretation was that Dilisoni means elevation because the neshama is superior in its source. That comes from the innermost. Are from the external levels, and that's why the bowing, the true prostrating, is done by the neshamas. Remember, we said there are two levels of prostrating, because you say we are unable to bow. He says, what do you mean you're not unable? You can do it. He says, no, there are two levels. There's the outer bittul and the inner bittul. The inner bittul can only happen when we have Beis Hamikdash. V'abeis umilosh in dalzan. The second one is which means impoverishment. The neshama doesn't have any garments, naked. Doesn't have any body. It doesn't have a vessel that contains it, that limits it. On the other hand, malachim are called ruchos eshlois. Remember, we spoke about elements of air and fire that they contain. So they have a body. They have a chaymer and tzura, shape and substance. The third one, interpretation of in the word dilisoni, sheiva is to pump, is to bring water. The neshamas were taken from Chochmah. It's written in Parshas Chayei Sarah. She filled up her pitcher. Speaking about Sarah giving it to Hagar. Kad min yama Chochmah. Chavdalet Sifrei Torah. Kad min yam. So it's Kad, it's 24 books of Torah. That the Torah is rooted in supernal wisdom. That's the source of Torah. The Torah is a picture from the sea. We're soon going to see what it means. When you go to the Torah Son B'Yisrael, it's written in Tehillim. Torah Son B'Yisrael, Chtiv Zois Lefonim B'Yisrael in Rus. Ve'ein Zois El Torah. And checked in Masechta Avodah Zarah, it says Ein Zois El Torah. She mushreshet b'neshamas Yisrael. It's rooted in the souls of Israel. Mekerom uvefnim yusam, in their innermost, in their source. And that's why they are deserving to accept, to receiving the Torah more than the angels. So the reason why we were uplifted more than the angels, and we were given the Torah, and the fact that Neshamas Yisrael are higher than being enclosed in physical bodies, because their source is rooted in supernal wisdom. That's where they came from. That's where they originated from. Like the same way that the Torah was generated from Chochmah, because the 24 holy writings came from Chochmah Eloh's supernal wisdom, like the Kad, the picture that is brought from the ocean, Yama Chochmah, the ocean of wisdom. And that's the meaning of Torah Son B'Yisrael, that the primary Torah is in Yisrael Darkei, specifically in Yisrael. Torah dwells innerly. On the other hand, all the other created beings or angels that come from Malchus, the source of creating all the separated human beings, that they're not one with Hashem. Similarly with angels that have physical bodies, because they're not one with godliness. And because they're supernal root of the soul of the neshamas, they're called dalis because they don't have a kli. Angels have a kli. Neshamas don't have a kli that limits them. They're called dal. They're called poor. And because of their poorness, they can be elevated and to be one with Hashem, like the ultimate bittul that we spoke before, like a candle in front of a big flame that wants to be one with the flame, even though it loses somewhat loses its identity. Okay, this is it. Buchim to you.